Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Prime Minister praises the people of Laventille for keeping the peace. Residents of Sunrise Branch Road in Penal have ended their 10-year wait for electricity in their village. And local food producers will soon have to comply with good agricultural practices that seek to promote proper farming methods and provision of more organic crops to the consumer. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister the Honourable Kamla Persad-Bissessar journeyed to Laventille and environs, where she praised the people for keeping the peace and encouraged parents to educate their children and uplift their lives. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar also congratulated the community for having a successful 10 days without any murders.
A warm embrace for the people of Laventille as the Prime Minister and her diplomatic corps toured several areas in the community. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar listened to a litany of woes from the residents and says the government will do all in its power to address their needs.
I really want to congratulate the members of your community. And I came to hear, together with others, some of the issues we can address to improve the quality of your lives here in the community. But I also came to say this today. I want to congratulate Mr. Warner, together with his team and his ministry, together with Commissioner of Police, Mr. Williams and his team, together with the Chief of Defense Staff and his team, and above all to congratulate you here in this community. Today registers day 10 without a murder in Laventille.
The Prime Minister met with the people of John John, Beverly Hills and Picton and congratulated them for working with the people to record a successful 10 days without any murders or gunshots in the community.
I ask you to continue to work with the protective services with the Minister of National Security for us to ensure that day 11 is also without a shot and without a murder. Now, whilst there may be one murder or two, we say every single one is a son or a daughter, a brother or a sister, and the blood of a child of our country being shed. We gave the commitment. We remain committed to dealing with the scourge of crime in this country. And so, when there is good, we must say there is good. There has been good in Laventille over the last 10 days. Not a shot fired, I'm told, and not a single murder registered. So give yourselves a round of applause.
Early this month, there was a spate of murders in Beverly Hills, prompting National Security Jack Warner to deploy police and army officers into the communities. There was a heavy police and army presence as the Prime Minister herself met one-on-one with the people. Unemployment and lack of proper housing were two of the top problems voiced by the residents.
We leave here as we go towards Beverly Hills. You're free to join us up there if you wish as we walk in that community together with you. All I can say, our commitment remains to improve the quality of life, whether you're from the north or the south or the east of us. Every race has a place in the space that is our great nation of Trinidad and Tobago. So let us together aspire. Let us together achieve. I wish you happy 50 years of independence. And coming up shortly, we celebrate Republic Day.
Even the children were excited to meet the Prime Minister. She showered the residents with gifts, teacups and water bottles, commemorating this country's 50th anniversary. The Prime Minister was also accompanied by Acting Commissioner of Police Stephen Williams. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar spoke at all locations. In Beverly Hills, she says that Keishon Walcott stood as an example that with hard work and dedication, goals can be accomplished. She also notes that the first gift from the government he took advantage of was the scholarship from UTT. The Prime Minister told the people that a basketball court, a community center, and a children's play park will be erected in Beverly Hills. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
Residents of Sunrise Branch Road in Penal have ended their 10-year wait for electricity. Minister of the People and Social Development, Dr. the Honourable Glenn Ramadar Singh, and Minister in that ministry, Vanella Allen Toppin, were both on hand as the electricity supply to the village was turned on for the very first time.
Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar came in for praise recently as some members of her constituency were able to turn on lights in their home for the first time. Residents of Sunrise Branch Road in Penal were previously unable to access electricity services as some of the land is owned by the Land Settlement Agency, while Petrotrin has land mining leases for some areas. Many of the residents were previously forced to use generators for electricity, while some lived in complete darkness. Speaking to the Sunrise Branch Road residents, Minister Alan Toppin emphasizes the importance and benefits of having electricity, benefits which she says many persons take for granted. Minister Alan Toppin says these benefits can affect something as simple as recreation or even more impactful things such as education and access to information.
Of course, if you have electricity, you can now tune in to what is happening all over the world, and that's very important. Security in your towns, in your cities, in your corners of the universe. You must have light to have security. You know, you will have light to ensure that you have recreation areas. When you have light, you extend the length of the day so that you can have recreation. Now we women could go, I'm not talking about the men at all, because I think sometimes the men prefer the darkness. We're talking about the women. You could go jogging, you could go walking, you could extend your day, extend your entrepreneurial activity right into the night. Education for the children. Of course, education is important, and although our forebears studied with the lamps and the candles, we do not now need, in this rich country, Trinidad and Tobago, to be doing that.
Minister Alan Toppin also laments the situation in Tobago, which she says is similar to Sunrise Road residents. She says some districts in Tobago have been the victim of rural neglect and vows that this government will seek to correct that problem. Meanwhile, also addressing residents was Minister of the People and Social Development, Dr. Glenn Ramadasinghe. He highlights the way in which the residents brought their plight to the government. He says while it came in the form of a protest, residents still left room for the element of productive conversations with the government. He is urging people to address their issues with the government in a manner which will encourage constructive dialogue. He warns that a hostile approach will only create a more aggressive environment which could delay the resolving of the issue at hand.
We ask you that as you walk the road to progress, that we ask for constructive engagement in the dialogue. We will achieve nothing if the voices get louder. But if the focus of the discussion gets deeper, we will achieve so much more. And so it is not only time for the government and the MPs to lift but it's also time for the citizens to lift the level of your dialogue and engage the government on a more constructive basis so that more can be done for you.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Housing Minister Dr. The Honorable Rudal Munilal is reminding citizens of the measures and initiatives the People's Partnership government plans to implement to ensure even the poorest of families have access to housing. He gave the reminder at the prize-giving function for the primary school's essay writing competition hosted by the Land Settlement Agency. Squatting was the topic that over 1,600 primary school students from more than 40 schools wrote on in the recent Land Settlement Agency essay competition. The students were asked to write about the challenges of squatting and examine the consequences of the act on the wider national community. While Dr. Munilal praises the students for their contributions, he stresses that participation in arts and culture is as important as their academic ability. He reminds them that they have a bigger role to play in society and in the overall development of Trinidad and Tobago.
While academic skills are of tremendous importance in today's world, we must remember that it is just as important to live a balanced life. Thankfully, we are citizens of a culturally diverse country, rich in the arts and culture, which we must seek to incorporate into our everyday lives, especially into the school curriculum. Students, as we celebrate our country's 50th anniversary, I urge you to treasure the values of achievement, passion, pride, and patriotism, which are essential elements in helping us to build stronger bonds of nationhood in our beloved country.
The winner of the competition is Zalika Bunchi of the Labre RC Primary School. Her prize included $5,000 in units from the Unit Trust Corporation and a desktop computer for the school. Meanwhile, Minister Munilal also took the time to remind citizens of the Land for the Landless initiative, an initiative designed to provide low-income earners the opportunity to buy state lands. Citizens throughout the country will begin to benefit from the program from as early as next month.
This measure will provide for deserving low-income earners to qualify for residential lots to build a home of their dreams. The program includes the infrastructural development of vacant lands within eligible squatted communities. The Land for the Landless initiative will begin as early as next month across several communities in Trinidad, including Guayari, Grand Couva, Cocorite, Valencia, Moruga, Aruca, Point Fortin, River Estate, Princestown, Matura, Williamsville, and Caratal.
Minister Munilal also reveals that plans are afoot to launch another housing program which will allow for persons earning less than $3,000 a month to design and build their own home. The program will see those persons being provided with a foundation to start their home.
The government will also be moving to develop greenfield state lands as we embark on a village expansion program. As many as 10,000 applicants are expected to benefit over the next 3 years, which is just the first phase of the program. We also intend to assist the poorest of the poor, persons who qualify under the program and whose total household income is less than $3,000 per month will be provided with a concrete foundation for their home. We refer to this as a foundation to your dreams. Successful applicants will have the opportunity to design their own homes within the specified guidelines. In addition, applicants will be afforded the opportunity to build incrementally over time based on their own income and budget considerations. They will also be given an option to decide on the size of the house they can afford, whether it will be 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, whatever. Potential homeowners will also be allowed to decide on the type of roof and ceiling to be built and indeed the materials to be used. However, we want to ensure that there is the highest quality in home construction and that is maintained.
In other news, local food producers will soon have to comply with Good Agricultural Practices, GAP, that seek to promote proper farming methods and provision of more organic crops to you, the consumer. The developing of this standard and best practice is being put forward by the National Agricultural Marketing and Development Corporation, NAMDEFCO, and Kariri. Chief Executive Officer at NAMDEFCO, Krishna Ramratan, says through this method designed with farmers and consumers in mind.
A new initiative that will see farmers producing a higher quality of organic produce is said to be coming soon to supermarket shelves. National Agricultural Marketing and Development Corporation, NAMDEFCO, seeks to introduce a similar system established in the U.S., where farmers are pushed to develop their standards and agricultural practices that give consumers an assurance of fresher, organic quality produce. Introducing the new standard titled Good Agricultural Practices, GAP, NAMDEFCO Chief Executive Officer Krishna Ramratan says it provides not only farmers an opportunity to assure of high quality of produce grown in the field, but to consumers across the country.
GAP ensures a higher standard of quality of produce, a standard by which all fresh produce can be measured. That assures a consumer that all best practices for nutrition, health, safety, farm traceability, proper post-harvest methods are employed. It is a symbol of quality whose importance and awareness can never be overemphasized enough, not just to those in the field of agriculture, but to all consumers, governments, and other organizations ensuring the health of their citizen.
The initiative is as a result of a collaboration between NAMDEFCO and Kariri in developing a national standard that in the end will push forward food safety among farmers. Foreign consultant on the program, Dr. Kilmet Petrov, making his presentation, notes while there were many technical considerations needed for implementing the GAP, the process serves to the advantage of all stakeholders involved in food production.
The supermarket will require and will purchase Global Gap certified products. But we do not promote this safety to the final consumer. We assure the final consumer with products which do comply with the applicable legislation, which are safe, which do not contain exceedance of maximum residue levels of pesticides, which are produced in a responsible way, but we don't put this claim on the final product.
Standards outlined are said to be in compliance with ISO 9007 regulation, which ensures that proper irrigation practices are maintained, as annual assessments will be carried out by local officials from NAMDEFCO.
About the quality of the irrigation water, we require that the annual risk assessment is performed for the water used for irrigation, and it shall consider the water source, the irrigation method, the timing of irrigation, the contact of irrigation water with the crop, the type of the crop, and so on and so on. So this risk assessment shall be reviewed annually, and based on the risk identified, the farmers are defining how often they will test the quality of the irrigation water in laboratory. So this analysis of the quality of the irrigation water very often also include microbiological contamination of the water, not only chemicals.
The GAP standard, which will soon be established, will seek to ensure standards are set in the fertilizers used in growing crops, the way it is harvested, packaged, stored, and transported to supermarkets.
Sport is up right after the break. Stay with us. The West Indies in Group B for the preliminary round of the ICC World 2020 and the other two nations in that group met when the second day of competition bowled off. Ireland had upset on their minds when they faced the mighty Australians at the Primadasa Stadium in Colombo, but they were outclassed in all departments, with Shane Watson putting in a masterful all-round performance for the Aussies. The Irish won the toss and elected to bat, but were in trouble from the first ball as Watson sent back their captain, William Porterfield, who could only hook the opening bouncer into the hands of the fine leg fielder. Ireland continued to lose wickets as a steady pace, with Mitchell Starc and Brad Hogg also bowling well to prevent them from ever getting on top. The only bright light was a 50-run partnership by the O'Brien brothers, with Kevin making 35 and Neil 20 as Ireland reached 123 for 7 in their 20 overs. Watson's 3 for 26 were the best figures for Australia. Ireland needed some early wickets during the Australian chase if they were to have any chance in the match, but Watson and David Warner played well at the top of the order. They were only separated when 60 runs were already accounted for, with Warner being the man to go for 26. By the time Watson left the crease via the run-out route for a top score of 51, the match was over as a contest. Australia reached 125 for 3 in 15 overs to end a commanding opening performance with a 7-wicket win. The West Indies opened their quest for 2020 supremacy versus the Aussies on Saturday in Colombo. More news after the break. Stay with us. Trinidad and Tobago's future, safe in the book bags of the hundreds of students who participated in this year's Secondary School Short Film Festival. Open to all secondary schools and registered youth groups in Trinidad and Tobago, the festival fosters the creation of responsible local content by aspiring filmmakers. The The award presentations took place for the short film competition, where a number of schools across the country were awarded in various categories.
Open to all secondary schools and registered youth groups in Trinidad and Tobago, the festival fosters the creation of responsible local content by aspiring filmmakers. Each year, the themes come under a specific subject area, and in 2012 they are Making a Cleaner, Better Future, the Environment, 50 Years of Culture, Preserving Trinidad and Tobago Legacy, My Islands, What It Means to be Trinbagonian, National Identity, and Fixing Trinidad and Tobago, Peace, Social Change.
I can't help but bring my mind, my first experience that had brought me to this place the second time around. Two words come to mind to sum up what this experience was like: product and process. Product. We produced a film with running time of 5 minutes. Now you see how easy that was said, straightforward and to the point. However, when it comes to the process, it's another story, another kettle of fish. It entailed a time frame of weeks and weeks of preparation.
39 schools and 53 youth groups, each represented by 8 young people, participated in the 2012 training sessions. The training sessions was undertaken by the Trinidad and Tobago Film Company and main sponsor and organizer of the SSSFF. The young filmmakers went through weeks of training with experienced industry practitioners in order to learn the basics of filmmaking, so each team could create a 5-minute film for the festival.
I think they developed certain life skills with respect to, because of what the program entailed. It meant them being disciplined. It meant that they had to be committed. It meant that they had to be patient and also tolerant of each other. And again, the whole idea of team spirit.
The participants are young and smart, who are being exposed to valuable skills training.
Well, to act, it really helped me to remember lines.
I don't think I would have experienced the things I experienced.
The SSSFF is a huge undertaking. It entails working with hundreds of students annually, facilitating their training and providing them with manuals, adjudicating films made by dozens of groups, and then ensuring their screening. Speaking at the prize-giving function, Minister of Trade and Industry and Investment, the Honorable Vasant Bharath, says film is one component of the sector that his ministry is working hard at developing in this country.
So as we celebrate our 50th anniversary of independence as a nation, we celebrate in the long acknowledged fact that we've got to move away from our traditional sectors and our traditional ways of doing business and to find new areas and new fields. And of course, film is one that is not traditionally associated with Trinidad and Tobago, but we have the ability amongst our young people to be able to grow that sector away from oil and gas.
The minister says his government also offers significant tax incentives for persons to make and develop films.
And I know that you may at this stage of your career or this stage of your progression not think as far ahead as tax breaks and so on, but the fact is that as you become more engrossed in the sector and as you grow in the sector, you're going to start looking, as Stephen said, you're going to start looking at producers, executive producers, who can provide funding to make your dreams come true.
The Trinidad and Tobago Film Company does not provide equipment for the productions by the schools and groups. They each have to make their films using available school equipment or consumer-level equipment, which they source themselves. However, the TTFC gives 16 awards, which comprise film and audio equipment, to the schools in categories such as Most Dramatic Film, Most Creative Film, Best Technical Skills, Best Script, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Overall Film. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.